welcome to a special episode of Clarion Chats, the official podcast of the Clarion, the school newspaper of Sinclair Community College. I'm your host, Harley, and welcome to our March recap episode. Let's get into it. Starting out in sports, Major League Baseball, so the MLB, their lockout is done. They reached some sort of resolution, so baseball season can begin. Also, what happened during March was March Madness, where those college teams, both men and women who qualified, competed throughout the month of March for the title, the 2022 March Madness title. The championship games take place April 3rd for the women and April 4th for the men. Also in sports for football for the NFL, it seems like every single player is like being traded or going to another team or something. So football season later this year will be very interesting to see what happens. Moving on to politics and world news. So the Senate had a little hearing with Judge Jackson, who is the judge that President Joe Biden nominated for the Supreme Court. So she met in front of, a committee to have kind of like a hearing in a sense, and the Senate is getting ready to vote on whether they're going to approve Biden's nomination of Judge Jackson or decline. If she gets approved, she will officially be the first Black woman on the Supreme Court. Also in politics and world news, the war between Russia and Ukraine continues, and it heated up a lot during the month of March. There was a lot more that happened in this war between the two countries during the month of March, including invasions of other Ukraine cities, along with NATO having a few meetings during the month of March to meet on what they're going to do. Because Ukraine is not a NATO nation, which we've mentioned briefly in the past, because they're not a NATO nation, other countries don't have to step in on the war between Russia and Ukraine because of that. But if Ukraine was a NATO nation, then NATO nations would have to step in because of the NATO nation, protection treaty. And there's been a debate for a long time on if Ukraine should be a NATO nation, and this war between the two countries has definitely sparked that conversation again. Moving on to news and breaking news. So Verizon, the phone company, had a text scam where people who had Verizon were getting text messages from themselves. And these scams were really complex in the fact that if you had a profile picture with your contact, these scammers were able to mimic your profile picture, your contact name, your phone number, everything. And because it was coming from you, users weren't really able to block the number and did not really know what to do. Verizon addressed the issue and said that they were looking into it. It was estimated that hundreds, maybe even thousands of Verizon users were affected or got the scam texts. Also, what happened in the month of March was Gabi Petito's parents filed a lawsuit against Brian Laundrie's parents because they believed that the Laundries either knew something and didn't say anything, or were involved with the murder of their daughter somehow. This is the big breaking news from the Gabi Petito case in a long time. The case closed January 2022 officially, after lead suspect Brian Laundrie was found dead, and it was suspected to be suicide. They even found the note that was addressed to his parents, that was about 2 pages long, maybe more like a page and a half. It pretty much just says that he admits to the murder, Gabi Petito. And then he also says, quote, "Please forgive me for all that has happened and all that I have put everyone through. I was too ashamed to tell Gabi's family what happened to her. I was too ashamed to tell anyone. I hope someday people can understand what really happened. Until we meet again someday, I love you forever." End quote. So that was the note that was found in Brian's notebook that was on his person when they found his body. But we haven't had any updates on the Gabi Petito case since it's closing in January. So this is the first big thing that's happened. So we will keep you updated as this lawsuit pans out. In entertainment and pop culture news, Tom Parker, who was a part of the band The Wanted, sadly passed away at the age of 33 from his battle with cancer. Parker was not the only celebrity to pass away during the month of March. There were a few others that passed, including Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins. And lastly, in pop culture and entertainment news, the 94th Academy Awards, so the Oscars, were on Sunday, March 27th, and it was a big night for a lot of people. There were a lot of historic wins and firsts, including Ariana DeBose, who won for Best Supporting Actress for her role in West Side Story, and she became the first openly queer woman of color to win an Oscar. Jessica Chastain won her first Oscar for Best Actress for her role in The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Troy Kotsur won for Best Supporting Actor for his role in Coda and became the first male deaf person to win an Oscar, but the second deaf person overall. Coda actually ended up taking Best Picture at the awards. No Time to Die, the song written and performed by Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas, took home Best Original Song, which gives them their first Oscar as well. Samuel L. Jackson got his first Oscar. He got an honorary Oscar at the event. And lastly, Will Smith won his first Oscar for Best Actor for his role in King Richard. And there was also a bunch of other firsts. A lot of people won their first Oscar or made history in some way. This is just a very small list. But these are some of the biggest awards of the night that I just wanted to highlight. But the biggest moment obviously came from Will Smith, and it was not from winning his award. If you watched the award ceremony, or even if you didn't, you probably know the one moment I'm talking about, when Chris Rock makes a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, and Will Smith, after a small pause, gets on stage, slaps Chris Rock in the face, sits down, and says something along the lines of, "Keep my wife's name out your effing mouth," and he repeats it twice. During this moment of the Oscars, it was bleeped out for American watchers, as we have different rules and regulations for our TV shows and broadcasting. But in other countries, it was not censored at all, so viewers were able to hear everything that went on. If you've yet to hear the uncensored version of this, I will try to link a video of that down in the description below. But this obviously went against the Academy's code of conduct. They're going to be meeting on April 18th to make a final decision on what consequences Will Smith will face due to his behavior at the 94th awards. But before they meet, Will Smith actually resigned from the academy and they accepted his resignation, but they're still going to meet on the 18th to decide any further actions to this. Other than that, this has been the March recap episode of Clarion Chats. Make sure you check out our website and our socials, which will be linked in the description below. And see you next episode. Bye.